Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here, Olga. And I would like to talk to you today about what is happening in the situation tied up with Ukraine war. And I just want to tell to our spectators that Olga Karach is the organizer and a head of organization, Human Rights Defender, also a politician, and her organization called Our House. It is International Center for Civil Initiatives. Olga, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for the possibility to talk about the situation in Belarus, because, as you know, Lukashenko is some kind of co-organizer of the war together with the Kremlin, and Alexander Lukashenko became a puppet of Vladimir Putin, if it's possible to say in this way. But what was happens? First of all, Lukashenko.
You need to show us your dog, Olga, because
sorry, this is my co-organizer.
He's the agent.
Yeah, some kind of secret agent, and he has Zoom and universes, and he would like to have some kind of total full control for everything. But not only him, but some people too. But let's return to the Ukrainian situation and the involvement of Belarus in the case. First of all, Alexander Lukashenko was trying to start the mass mobilization of Belarusian men between age from 18 till even 60 years old. As we receive some kind of documentation from such men, and the dates of the demands to go to the military departments, to the commissariats, were from 4th of March till 9th of March. So, as you can imagine, Lukashenko planned to send the Belarusian men massively to the Ukraine 1 week ago. And my organization and my colleagues together, we were sitting, of course, and we thought what we can do in the situation. We are not soldiers, we are not military people, and we decided to start the women's campaign. No means no, and the goal of the campaign is cancellation of the participation for Belarusian men in the war from the Putin side, because we think that the real hero is not the man who is going to Ukraine and support Vladimir Putin and to kill peaceful Ukrainian women and children, but the real hero in Belarus is a man who is who canceled such kind of participation. And of course, as a feminist organization, we strongly believe that everybody has the right to say no. No to war, no to violence, no to abuse, not only women, but also the men too. And we received a huge response for the campaign. Since 1st of March, we started the campaign on 1st of March. It was something like more than 1 million users who was following for our informational materials in different social platforms. And even I would like to say about very, very absolute number for my personal page on Facebook. For example, my speech to Belarusian men with the request don't participate in the war on the Putin side collected 7,500 likes and more than 3,500 reposts. For me,
amazing.
It's unbelievable. And the video only in Facebook, the video collected more than 200,000 views. you could imagine this is quite huge for Belarus.
This is fantastic, because I remember when you started this campaign, I watched the video when you were telling step by step how to avoid going to the war. Do you think some people really use those steps?
Yes, and I would like to share some kind of, maybe not public statistic, but at least the Lithuanian government recognize it and say it in some kind of way publicly. So since 4th of March, every day in Lithuania, there are something like 400, 600 men who is arriving to Lithuania, and who is saying that they are trying to go out from the army.
So avoiding the army.
Yes, per day, avoiding the army per day. 400-600 men per day. If we speak about the Belarusian diaspora in Lithuania, it's about 7,000 people at all, and all the people, this is the people who is going during the last year and a half after the president election 2020, and you could imagine about 10% of the whole Belarusian diaspora is arriving every day since 4th of March. So
this is incredible, because we can see the massive inflow of women and children from Ukraine into Polish side, and I'm sure to Lithuanian side as well. And from Belarus, there just as big a number of men coming out who are not willing to fight, trying to avoid the action in Ukraine, trying to run away from the war. How difficult it is for them? Do they tell you anything about their journey?
Actually, if we started the campaign, no means no, and now it's very obviously that this is only first step to give very, very clear instructions to the Belarusian men how to avoid the army. But at the same time, it's very clear that it's not enough, and it's many bureaucratic procedures. For example, it's not clear with the status of such men. For example, Latvia is open to give the status of political refugee for such kind of type of man from Belarus, but at the same time, Lithuania in process to see, and then process to give some kind of status to. They're not very happy about, maybe because in Lithuania there are much more such men than in Latvia, but anyway. And of course, we have to think about 3 types of such men who is trying to avoid the army on the Putin side. Because if you speak about the Belarusian man who is participating in the Ukraine war on the Ukraine side, this is some kind of about 400 such kind of men, and they have the whole.
So we have now the men who are fighting with Ukrainians, Belarusian forces, and 400 men. It's a good number. It's a good help, and also the men who are going now to Lithuania, trying to prevent invasion into Ukraine on the Putin side. But do you think they can join the Belarusians who are fighting with Ukrainians against Putin?
Yes, it's not, of course, not everybody, because some men just want to have some peaceful life, nothing more. But from Lithuania, we have many men who was going or who is going now to Ukraine to participate in the war in the Ukrainian side. And it's very, but I started to speak, but forgot to finish. So we have 3 types of men now who is trying to avoid the army. First of all, men who can be potential soldiers. And this is maybe the most problematic category because they still don't receive any demands or requests to go to the military department, but the men are very, very afraid that it could be some kind of situation they think so from the previous experience after the president elections 2020 and the participation in the protests. If the military department, if the commissariat should go to the work or to home and to give the paper and immediately to take them to the army with the violence, with the brutal pressure, using chantage for relatives, etc., etc. So it's not clear what to do with such kind of category because they're asking. They say, no, I have no any kind of paper, but at the same time, I'm afraid that if I should receive it, it should be too late. And of course, it's huge, it's big question. Second type of such men who already received the papers, but they're inside Belarus. Right. So in this situation, of course, by my opinion, they have only one possibility. They have to leave Belarus immediately, soon as possible, to any country, to Georgia, to Turkey, maybe even to Russia, because in Russia it's much more easy to disappear from the Belarusian forces and military department. And after, of course, they should try to go to European Union. And we, as human rights defenders, and not only we are, we should work for better guarantees and for better conditions to give to help them to receive any kind of official status. And of course, maybe the problematic other problematic group, third group of Belarusian men who is already in the Ukrainian territory and who is participating in the war from Putin's side.
They actually, Olga, I'm sorry, just want to clarify, because it's not clear whether they participate or they have been or they are not participating. Do you have any real understanding of the participation of Belarusian soldiers on Putin's side in Ukraine right now?
Of course, in Ukraine now, we, as you know, in Ukraine it is a war now. So it's really, sometimes it's really hard to understand what is the truth, what is not, because too many different information and pieces of information, but at the same time, what we know exactly, we know that Ukrainians have Belarusian surrenders. So it means that some Belarusians already have participated in the war. So in which status, etc., it's not clear because they have no passports and documents. And of course, they're speaking about the story like it was brutal violence, blah, blah, blah. But of course, the Ukrainians should check it's the truth or not. And I read and listen many requests from different democratic and political forces to go to Ukraine and being surrendered. But my advice and very, very strong advice, please, people, don't do it. Because in reality, you have no any chance or very, very little chance to be surrendered. Because you could imagine you have the stress from your own environment and Russian soldiers in your team, for example.
So you mean to become a prisoner of war? It's not an easy process. It's quite an involved procedure.
Yes, it's very complicated to become a prisoner of war because you have many risks to be killed by your friends, Belarusian or Russian soldiers, or by local population. You could imagine that people, peaceful people, are not very happy about the situation in Ukraine and become more and more angry about everything. And of course, the Ukrainian forces, because they don't want to check exactly. You would like to shoot them, or you would like to be a prisoner of war, or what happens. For them, it's much more easy to kill you than to worry about you, and to provide some kind of conditions, etc., etc. So this is the reality, because we all notice and follow what happens in Ukraine. So it's very clear situation. And my strong advice for all Belarusian men who's listening to me now or watching me now, please don't do it. If you, I understand that it's really, really a hard situation in Belarus. This is real terror. I would like to remind the story of a woman, a chief of Novopolsk Independent Trade Union. She just went on street with a with a sign, no war. She already received, she's imprisoned for 60 days, only for this kind of sentence, no war. And of course, under such kind of repressions, I understand the men. Sometimes it's really hard to say no and to fight because people are waiting any kind of response. But if somebody has any hopes to go to Ukraine and to try to run, maybe.
Okay, so that's maybe
it's bad choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is easier to not to go at all than go and then trying to get out of the situation. Olga, I understand that coming out of Belarus may be difficult. How do people do it? Because I understand if Lukashenko, the dictator, is trying to prevent men from leaving Belarus, does he put in place any hurdles?
This is very interesting question, because I would like to say about the trends from both sides, not only from Lukashenko's side, but also from EU side. Because now it's very complicated to make any visa to EU countries, because many visa centers are closed now. And but at the same time, it's still some possibilities. For example, it's possible to go to Turkey and Georgia without any visa. And in Turkey and Georgia, it could be possible to use humanitarian corridor, and if you are Belarusian, you can apply for the visa to any EU country. But of course, in this situation, you have to explain why you are doing the visa in Turkey or Georgia. And of course, in this situation, you or Belarusian man, any Belarusian man, needs the papers, needs documents. Now in Lithuania, for example, there are some cases when young men they arrive into Lithuania, they have no any documents. They didn't participate in the protest, and they have no documents from the military department. They are just afraid that they can be potential soldiers. Of course, in this situation, I would like to say 99% of possibility that Lithuania will turn them back because they have no any proofs.
Why you do need to have a documentation proving your status.
Yes,
you've been called to the army, you're refusing, you don't want to go there.
Yes, and yes, it's true. And why we always repeat about the documentations and any documents, to keep any documents, evidence, proofs, because of course the Belarusian regime is trying to destroy all documents about repressions, or for example, the Belarusian Ministry of Defense started to produce false demands to go to the military departments to give some kind. If somebody should make any scandal, to say that, oh, no, it's false. But if anybody doesn't notice, so the person should be participated. Should be a part of the Belarusian army or Russian army in Ukraine. Yeah,
Belarusians pretend that it is okay, right? The Belarusian authorities are trying to create this spectacle that everybody is running in order to fight Ukrainians. Okay, but
it's not true. And now Lukashenko is trying to make a very huge propaganda campaign. And even the Ministry of Defense opened the door and invited mothers of the soldiers now to different parts, especially near Gomin, to show the sons and that everything is okay with their sons. As I understand, it was huge number of calls from the mothers, and of course they even now, such kind of horrible dictator of Lukashenko has to follow for the people's demands. If angry women are starting to do anything, it's impossible to stop. Even for Lukashenko, it's impossible to stop any angry Belarusian woman.
Well, let's give us all hope, and the more angry women will be around, the less soldiers will go to the war in Ukraine. Olga, and I want to ask you one more question. Do you think that the regime of Vladimir Putin going to fall anytime soon?
It's a very interesting question, but what I would like to say, and even not, this is a very, very seldom situation when me and Alexander Lukashenko, we have the same opinion. Because 2 days Lukashenko said publicly, when the regime of Vladimir Putin will fall down, his regime will fall down too for at next day. So I'm totally agree with him. I don't want to say that the regime of Vladimir Putin will be finished soon. It depends of the resources and what they're planning. But by my opinion, Vladimir Putin doesn't need a victory. He needs some kind of chaotic situation in Ukraine. And also there are many threats to Baltic countries. Even Lukashenko spoke publicly that together with Vladimir Putin, he and Vladimir Putin, they already chosen some kind of ports what they're planning to build in the Baltic Sea. So it means in Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. And of course, for the government, for the politicians of the countries, it's very confusing situation, because this is very, very direct, very serious threat that they will be next. And I'm in Lithuania now, and it's very clear that not only Lithuanian government, but also the Lithuanian population, people are in process to prepare or in preparation to the war, that they will be next. Why Lithuania is so active to help the Ukraine now, because they understand that they're in the line and they're next.
Thank you very much, Olga. I hope that we will resist Putin and we will put his regime down. And thank you so much for help and help to Ukraine and help to Ukrainian effort to stop the war with Vladimir Putin. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Живе Belarus.
Живе. Thank you.